Welcome back everyone. Today, we're continuing with the next part of this series, called What If Goku Remembered the Saiyans? My name is Ash. Please, for me, drop a like and subscribe to the page. Also leave your comments down below. With that, let's begin. Bardock clawed his way out of the steaming crater, bits of scorched rock crumbling from his armor. As he stood tall against the haze of battle, ash drifted through the air like dirty snow. His breath came hard, hot, but steady. Above him, the sky boiled with energy, and floating in that chaos was Broly. The monstrous Saiyan hovered with arms wide and eyes wild, laughing like thunder cracking through clouds. His aura flared green and wild, shaking the nearby mountains as if the world itself feared him. Still standing? Good! Broly growled, that twisted grin carved into his face. Let's see how long that lasts. Without warning, Bardock launched upward like a missile. His golden aura flared behind him, streaking the sky with light. He closed the distance in seconds, aiming a sharp punch at Broly's face, but Broly's size hid his speed. The towering sign shifted sideways, one arm sweeping out to clothesline the younger warrior. Bardock's eyes widened. Broly's arm was already there, cutting through the air like a guillotine. Too late to stop. Then, whoop! Bardock vanished with a burst of light and sound. Instant transmission. He reappeared behind Broly with both hands glowing. Try this! Bardock shouted, unleashing a rapid storm of energy blasts. The blasts slammed into Broly's back one after another. Bam, bam, bam. Each one rattling the sky and sending shockwaves across the ground below. Smoke poured off Broly's scorched back as he staggered forward, the blasts forcing him off balance. But when he turned, he looked unimpressed. Broly's mouth curled into a low snarl. Annoying. With a sudden roar, he fired a gigantic beam of emerald energy. It tore across the sky like a second sun, headed straight for Bardock. Too slow! Bardock vanished again, blinking out of sight. The beam streaked into the upper atmosphere and exploded harmlessly in space, illuminating the Earth's clouds in green. Bardock reappeared in the sky directly behind his enemy and spun, his boot colliding with the back of Broly's head. Broly shot forward, arms flailing, but Bardock wasn't done. Zap! He teleported again, right into Broly's path, and met him with another brutal kick to the chest. The second impact sent the hulking warrior careening back in the opposite direction, crashing through a ridge and erupting a shockwave that flattened trees for miles. Ladies and gentlemen! The announcer's voice echoed across the packed arena, his energy matching the crowd's excitement. This has been an incredible tournament so far, but it all comes down to this final match. Spotlights lit the ring where two familiar fighters stood. On one side, we have the former champion, Kakarot. He's been absent for the last few tournaments, but make no mistake, he's never lost a single match. The crowd roared as Kakarot stood tall, his orange GI barely shifting as wind whipped through the stadium. And on the other side, we have the crowd favorite, Krillin, a veteran of many tournaments, always full of surprises. Will today be his greatest victory? The cheers grew louder. Kakarot stood still, arms crossed loosely, a faint frown on his face. His mind wasn't here, not really. Far away, across the planet, he could still feel Bardock and Broly's energy shaking the world. So far, Bardock's still in the fight, he thought, but that could change in a heartbeat. He turned to Krillin with an apologetic smile. Sorry, Krillin, I'm gonna have to end this one quickly. Krillin smirked, stretching out and popping his knuckles. You always say that, but I'm not going down without a fight. The announcer raised his hand. Ready, fight! Kakarot disappeared in a flash of light, already charging forward as golden energy burst around him. His hair flared up, shifting to bright gold. Super sign. Krillin's aura exploded red as he screamed, Kaioken! He pushed his body to the max, maybe past it. His power surged, sweat flying from his brow. Kaioken X60! The moment Kakarot reached him, he was gone. An afterimage? Krillin's eyes darted around, but too late. Kakarot reappeared behind him with a silent chop to the neck. Krillin gasped, knees buckling. His red aura fizzled out like a dying flame. He hit the ground on hands and knees, coughing hard. Before he could recover, Kakarot's elbow came crashing down on the back of his neck. The arena shook. Krillin's body bounced off the tiles and left a dent in the ring. He didn't move. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer boomed. That may have been the most one-sided fight we've seen all day. Kakarot wins with only 2 hits. The count begins. 1, 2, 3, 4. Krillin groaned, coughing. He pressed one hand into the tile and slowly pushed himself up. Nice one, he wheezed, rubbing the back of his neck. But I'm not down that easily. He knew Kakarot could end the fight any second, but he had to at least try. Maybe, just maybe. With a grimace, he clenched his fists and roared, Kaioken! X75. His body glowed like molten lava. The pressure cracked tiles beneath his feet, gritting his teeth against the pain. Krillin charged, screaming as he threw a full-force punch straight for Kakarot's head. But it never connected. Kakarot blinked out of existence again. Krillin stumbled forward, caught completely off guard. Suddenly, he was there again. Same spot, same smirk. Pow! Kakarot's fist rammed into Krillin's gut like a cannonball. The breath shot from Krillin's lungs. His body folded over the blow, eyes bulging. Before he could even gasp, Kakarot grabbed his shoulders, twisted, and drove a knee into Krillin's face. The crowd gasped as Krillin's body lifted off the ground. But Kakarot was already above him. Both fists slammed down onto Krillin's chest. Krillin crashed into the ring, flat on his back. Dust flew up around him. The crater beneath him said it all. Krillin is down again, the announcer shouted. The count begins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He paused. Kakarot is the winner. Back on the other side of the world, Bardock stood on a shattered cliff edge, panting hard, his arms trembling. The wind howled between them as bits of debris floated around from the sheer force of the battle. Broly hovered above him, bruised, bleeding, but still smiling. It was hard to tell if he was tired or just enjoying the chaos. Bardock clenched his fists, trying to steady his breathing. He couldn't keep this up much longer. Broly raised one hand, energy charging in his palm until it became a blinding sphere. You can dodge this if you want, he said calmly, voice echoing like thunder. But if you do, the planet dies. Bardock's eyes widened. He looked up slowly, sweat dripping down his cheek. You wouldn't? He whispered. You'd die too. Broly's laughter echoed through the broken skies, mad and unshaken. He hovered above the battlefield like a god gone wild, arms raised, energy swirling around him like a storm of chaos. Do you really think a planet exploding is enough to destroy me? He shouted, voice rumbling like thunder. Without hesitation, he hurled the massive glowing sphere straight toward Bardock. The air around the energy ball howled as it ripped downward, lighting the sky in an eerie green glow. Bardock didn't move. He couldn't. Not when the earth was behind him. With a defiant yell, the young Saiyan thrust both hands upward and caught the attack head-on. Heat and force exploded against his palms, scorching his skin. The power pushed him down like a mountain falling from the sky. His boots scraped the rocky ground, then sank into it. The stone beneath cracked and shattered from the pressure, but he held it. He held it. I won't lose! Bardock roared, muscles straining, sweat flying off his brow. His golden aura fought against the green blaze pressing down on him. Every inch of his body screamed in pain, but still, he pushed. Up above, Broly narrowed his eyes. No, he said calmly, raising his other hand. You will die. A second orb of energy swirled to life in his palm, twice as big, twice as unstable, and Broly launched it straight into the first. The explosion lit up the entire sky. A wall of raw force slammed down, flattening forests, crumbling mountains, and ripping apart the landscape for miles. The shockwave burst out in all directions like a hurricane of fire and smoke. When it finally ended, everything was still. No sound, no movement, just dust. The sky turned gray, ash falling like snow. As the smoke thinned, it revealed a crater, wide as a city and miles deep. At its center, there was no sign of Bardock. Broly hovered above, grinning in silence. Back at the World Martial Arts Stadium, cheers echoed across the packed arena. The crowd stood on their feet, roaring with excitement as Kakarot stood tall in the ring, holding the championship belt. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer bellowed into the microphone, your champion has returned. The undefeated warrior, Kakarot, has once again proven, without a doubt, that he is the strongest fighter in the world. The crowd exploded with applause. Kakarot smiled politely, stepping forward to take the belt, but suddenly, his eyes narrowed. Something's wrong. Bardock's power, it's fading fast. He reached for the belt, then paused. Thanks, he said quietly, but I've got to go. In the blink of an eye, Kakarot raised 2 fingers to his forehead. Instant transmission, zap! He vanished from the ring. The announcer stammered. "It appears our champion has left in a hurry, folks." The wind was dead. Ash still fell from the sky. Then, ZAP. Kakarot appeared in the middle of the crater. His boots landed beside Bardock, who was on one knee, bruised and burned, but still glowing in his Super Saiyan 2 form. His armor was shattered, face bloodied, but his spirit hadn't given in. "You all right?" Kakarot asked, kneeling beside him. Bardock let out a dry laugh. "I've been better." The boy grunted and pushed himself to his feet, wobbling slightly. His aura flickered, dimmed, but didn't go out. "Why don't you let me take over from here?" Kakarot said softly, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. "You look like you could use a break." Bardock gave a tired grin. "Yeah, that last attack was a killer." "I saw that," Kakarot replied. In the next heartbeat, his golden aura exploded outward, surrounding him in a blazing storm of light. Lightning crackled at his feet as his power soared. His hair spiked higher, his muscles expanded, and his presence flooded the crater with raw energy. Super Saiyan 2. "I'll take it from here," Kakarot said, voice now deeper, more serious. Zap! He vanished. In the sky above, Broly turned just in time for a golden fist to slam into his back like a meteor. Boom! The impact bent his body mid-air and sent him flying forward like a missile, but Kakarot didn't wait. He was already there, warping ahead with a blast of gold. He struck Broly again, and again, and again. Fists, knees, elbows. Every strike landed like thunder. Broly barely had time to raise his arms before Kakarot was on top of him, with a blinding flurry of kicks and punches, each one shaking the very sky. High above the arena, inside a private skybox Bulma had rented for the tournament, Raditz leaned forward, eyes locked on the viewing screen. "Bardock's power is dropping," he muttered. "He's already there," Vegeta said, from the corner of the room, arms crossed tightly. Raditz closed his eyes and focused. Kakarot's energy just spiked, but he might still need help. "You fools!" Paragus scoffed from his seat. "Don't you get it? Broly can't be beaten, not by anyone." Vegeta's eye twitched. His pride burned like fire. "I am the prince of all Saiyans. I'll defeat this so-called unstoppable warrior and prove, once and for all, that I am the strongest." Bulma raised an eyebrow, smirking. "Didn't Kakarot already prove that when he beat you?" A vein bulged on Vegeta's forehead. He didn't answer. His jaw clenched. He hated being reminded, but he wasn't backing down. "Vegeta's right," Raditz said, trying to calm things down. "If Bardock lost to that monster, then Kakarot might need backup." "Let's go then," Vegeta barked. With a roar of power, he blasted through the ceiling and into the sky, flying toward the battle like a rocket. "Wait up!" Raditz shouted, taking off after him. Paragus chuckled to himself. "It won't make any difference. Broly can't be stopped." Paragus doubled over, coughing, as Yamcha's fist drove into his gut. "Shut up already!" Yamcha said, shaking his hand out. Broly twisted in the sky, flipping himself upright after taking the full brunt of Kakarot's assault. Dust fell off his massive frame as he came to a sudden halt in midair. His hair whipped in the wind, and his eyes locked onto the new fighter now standing between him and destruction. That face. That name. It snapped through his mind like lightning splitting a tree. "Kakarot!" Broly screamed, his voice shaking the clouds. His rage, ancient and endless, ignited his power like fuel to fire. The ground below cracked under the sheer weight of his rising Kai. Energy exploded around him, warping the air in a violent green blaze. He raised one hand and pointed it at his most hated enemy. A split second later, the sky lit up with a swarm of emerald energy blasts. They raced toward Kakarot like angry comets, but the sign was already gone. With a flicker of light, Kakarot vanished, instant transmission. He reappeared behind Broly, fists clenched and aura flaring, but Broly was ready. With inhuman speed, the legendary Super Saiyan spun and caught Kakarot mid-strike, his massive hand wrapping around the smaller fighter's chest like a vice. Then, with a roar, Broly hurled him into the ground like a meteor crashing into Earth. Kaboom! Kakarot hit the ground hard, just as Broly's energy blast came around mid-air and followed him. Boom, boom, boom. Each blast slamming down in a cascade of explosions, burying him beneath fire and stone. Smoke curled from the crater. Slowly, Kakarot pushed himself to his feet, teeth gritted, blood dripping from a cut above his eye. His uniform hung in shreds, singed and torn. His chest rose and fell with each breath, every muscle aching from the blow. Above him, Broly hovered with eyes full of fury and a grin that chilled the air. "Now you die, Kakarot," he growled, and this time he raised both hands. A swirling sphere of energy began to form, larger than the one he had used against Bardock. It crackled like a living storm, its heat melting clouds as it gathered mass. He threw it down. Kakarot looked up, eyes widening as the enormous blast screamed toward him like a falling star. He could feel it. He couldn't dodge this, not without letting it tear straight through the earth. There was only one option. He planted his feet, cupped his hands to his side, and began to focus every last ounce of energy he had into one final move. Kamehameha! A brilliant blue beam erupted from his palms, roaring upward to meet Broly's attack. The two forces slammed into each other with a thunderous crack, energy whipping in all directions. The sky above twisted and howled. The Kamehameha pushed against Broly's blast, slowing it, but not stopping it. The ground beneath Kakarot crumbled as the pressure grew. "I need more power!" Kakarot muttered, teeth grinding. Up above, Broly laughed. "That crater will be your grave." The giant green orb continued its slow crawl, downward, inch by inch, pressing against Kakarot's beam. "I will not lose!" Kakarot roared, his voice echoing for miles. Then he made a choice, one that could tear him apart. Super Kaioken! Red lightning burst from within his golden aura as the two powers collided. His hair flared, his muscles trembled, and his energy shot upward in a blaze of red and gold. The Kamehameha wave doubled in size. Broly's attack halted. Then it reversed. With a final scream, Kakarot's beam overwhelmed Broly's orb and slammed into the legendary Super Saiyan. Boom! The explosion tore through the sky like a second sun. A shockwave leveled a nearby mountain range. Flames erupted across the horizon, and then silence. Broly's limp body fell from the sky like a broken statue. His enormous form crashed into the ground with a deafening thud, carving out a deep crater of his own. Kakarot floated up from the wreckage of his own crater, arms heavy at his sides, chest heaving. The Super Kaioken had done its job, but it had nearly broken him. He flew over to where Broly had fallen. The monster was no longer monstrous. Lying at the bottom of the crater was a tall, skinny Saiyan with long, black, spiky hair. His breathing was shallow. He was unconscious. Bardock floated down beside his father, holding his ribs with one arm. He winced at the sight of the crater. "Is it over?" Bardock asked, voice strained. "He's out cold," Kakarot said, and no longer transformed. "What do we do with him?" Bardock asked. "We can't leave him like this." "We can't just kill him," Kakarot replied. "Why not?" came a familiar voice. Vegeta dropped from the sky with Raditz right behind him. The prince's eyes narrowed as he looked at Broly's body. "He's too dangerous to be left alive." "I've got to agree with Vegeta on this one," Raditz said, folding his arms. "We can't control this guy. He is batshit crazy," Bardock muttered. Kakarot turned to him. "What do you mean?" "Well, when I first started fighting him, he kept screaming your name like a madman," Bardock explained. "Every hit, every move, he was just shouting, 'Kakarot,' over and over. So, he's not evil," Kakarot said slowly. "He's just nuts." "Does it matter?" Vegeta snapped. "He's a ticking time bomb. We destroy him, now." "I've got an idea," Bardock said quickly. "Mom's been working on those energy-blocking wristbands and belts in the lab. Maybe we could use them on him, just until we figure something out." "It's worth a try," Kakarot said. "Are you insane?" Vegeta barked. "That plan is completely idiotic." Kakarot shrugged. "If it doesn't work, we'll just beat him again." "What about Paragus?" Raditz asked, suddenly remembering. "Who's Paragus?" Bardock said, confused. "He's Broly's father," Kakarot answered. Then to Raditz. "He didn't seem too dangerous. We can slap some blockers on him too, just in case." Moments later, a flash of light signaled their arrival at the Capsule Corp laboratory. Kakarot, Bardock, Vegeta, and Raditz stood with Broly's unconscious body in tow, his arms dragging across the floor. The lab's lights flickered on as Bardock rushed over to a nearby case and pulled out 2 silver wristbands and a thick black belt lined with blue sensors. He slipped the restraints onto Broly's wrists and buckled the belt around his waist. At once, the air shifted. Broly's power dropped drastically, from a raging inferno to a barely noticeable flicker. The 4 Saiyans stood still. "That should hold him," Bardock said. "Let's hope so," Raditz muttered. "Or there may be hell to pay."